The morning rush at the train station was moving as usual. People hurried toward platforms, coffee in hand, focused on their own lives. Then a scream cut through the noise. "Stop her! She stole my bag!" Heads turned instantly. A young woman in a faded gray hoodie was running through the crowd, clutching a black leather backpack against her chest. Fear filled her eyes. Behind her ran a wealthy businessman in an expensive suit. "Somebody stop her!" he shouted. That was all it took. No one asked questions. No one wanted an explanation. People immediately assumed they knew the truth. A man stepped into her path. Another grabbed her arm. She stumbled and crashed onto the floor. The backpack slid away. Within seconds, a crowd surrounded her. Phones appeared. People started recording. "She looks like a thief. I knew something was wrong with her." The woman tried to speak. "It's not what you think." But nobody listened. The businessman arrived, breathing heavily. He picked up the backpack and pointed at her. "That's mine." The crowd nodded. Of course it was. Everything about him inspired trust. Everything about her inspired suspicion. And that was the first mistake. A few minutes later, both were taken to a security office. Outside, videos of the incident were already spreading online. Inside, the businessman looked calm and confident. The young woman sat quietly across from him. The security supervisor placed the backpack on the desk. "Let's settle this." He opened it. Inside were documents, folders, a laptop, and several envelopes. Nothing unusual. The businessman smiled. "There. My property." The supervisor turned toward the woman. "Why did you take it?" Silence filled the room. Then she spoke. "Did you check the front pocket?" The supervisor frowned. "The front pocket?" She nodded. "Open it." For the first time, the businessman looked nervous. The supervisor noticed. Slowly, he unzipped the small compartment. Inside was a white envelope. The moment it appeared, the color drained from the businessman's face. The supervisor opened it. Photographs spilled across the desk. Pictures of sick children, cancer patients, elderly people, families outside hospitals. And in every picture stood the businessman, smiling, posing, looking generous. At first, they seemed like ordinary charity photos. Then the supervisor noticed the dates. The same families appeared again and again over the years. But each time they looked worse, sicker, more desperate. The photographs weren't showing recovery. They were showing suffering. The supervisor opened another envelope. Hospital records. Another. Financial documents. Another. Letters from families begging for help. Letters that had never been answered. The room fell silent. The businessman suddenly looked terrified. The young woman finally raised her head. "My name is Emma." Nobody interrupted. She pointed at the photographs. Every person in those pictures trusted him. The businessman jumped up. "She's lying." But fear had replaced his confidence. Emma continued. "He runs one of the biggest charity foundations in the country." Everyone knew the organization. It raised millions every year. The businessman was famous. People called him a hero. Emma swallowed hard. "My mother trusted him too." The room froze. She needed heart surgery. Tears appeared in her eyes. "He promised to help." The businessman stared at the floor. Emma's voice trembled. "He used her story to raise money." Nobody moved. Nobody spoke. He collected more than $200,000. A tear rolled down her cheek. "My mother died waiting." The words hit like a hammer. She never received a single dollar. Everything changed. The thief suddenly looked like a grieving daughter. The hero suddenly looked like a criminal. But one question remained. Why had Emma taken the backpack? She answered before anyone asked. "Because that's where he kept the evidence." She pointed to the laptop. "For 3 years, I've been gathering proof." The supervisor opened it. What he found shocked everyone. Hidden accounts, property purchases, luxury vacations, Private investments. Millions of dollars. Money donated for sick children and struggling families. Gone. Stolen. The businessman buried his face in his hands. His empire was collapsing. Later that day, an investigator asked Emma a question. If you've known this for years, why didn't you go to the authorities? Emma gave a sad smile. I did. What happened? No one believed me. She explained how she had sent reports, letters, emails, and evidence. Again and again. Nobody listened. Because the businessman was rich and respected. Emma was just a waitress struggling to support her younger brother after their mother's death. People trusted status. People trusted money. People trusted appearances. Truth never had a chance. The scandal soon became national news. The charity foundation collapsed. Victims came forward by the hundreds. The businessman was arrested and later convicted. Everything he had built disappeared. Yet Emma refused every interview. She rejected book deals and television appearances. She quietly returned to her life. Most people thought the story was over. It wasn't. 6 months later, a journalist investigating the case noticed something strange. Every family he interviewed mentioned the same person. Emma. Again and again. Curious, he dug deeper. What he discovered stunned him. While exposing the fake charity, Emma had secretly been helping victims herself. She paid medical bills, bought groceries, covered rent, funded surgeries, purchased wheelchairs, helped families survive. The journalist couldn't understand. Emma wasn't wealthy. Where was the money coming from? The answer broke his heart. She worked 3 jobs, 18 hours a day, 7 days a week. Almost every dollar she earned went to people in need. One elderly man cried during an interview. She saved my life. A single mother said, my daughter is alive because of her. Then a cancer patient shared something unforgettable. She visited me every Thursday for 2 years. The journalist looked surprised. What did she bring? The old man smiled through tears. Nothing. Nothing. He shook his head. She just sat beside me. The room fell silent. When everyone else disappeared. The article went viral. Millions read it. Millions shared it. And many felt ashamed. Because they remembered the train station video. The one where people mocked her, judged her, humiliated her, without knowing anything about her life. Now they understood. The woman they called a thief had spent years carrying the pain of others without asking for anything in return. 1 year later, a community center opened. Above the entrance was a simple sign. Emma's House. A place dedicated to helping families in need. At the opening ceremony, hundreds gathered. When Emma stepped onto the stage, the crowd fell silent. She looked around the room and spoke only 3 sentences. Character is revealed when nobody is watching. She paused. Kindness is real only when it expects nothing in return. Then she smiled softly. The people easiest to judge are often carrying the heaviest burdens. For a moment, nobody moved. Then the entire audience rose to its feet. Applause filled the room. But Emma simply smiled. The same quiet smile. Because she had never wanted fame. Never wanted recognition. She only wanted one thing. A world where people looked beyond appearances before deciding who someone truly is.